Yesterday, certainly it was what we would call an unstable day. The air mass and the atmosphere and just the weather patterns were prime for some severe weather. We had the weather watch, severe thunderstorm watch, issued for much of central Alberta at 10:21 a.m., so before noon yesterday morning. The warning for the city of Camrose, which includes the area with the Big Valley Jamboree, was issued at 6:04 p.m. And I'll just fill in some of the blanks as to what happened during the day there. Again, the watch issued at 10:21 a.m. The first warnings went out just before 3 o'clock for areas west of Edmonton. And basically, the storms that developed yesterday were moving from the northwest towards the southeast. So forming west of Edmonton and then moving through the Camrose area around 6 p.m. So around 3 p.m. in the Whitecourt area, 3:30 or so moving into the Lac-Saint-Anne, Barrhead, Yellowhead County areas, a little bit further to the southeast. Just after 4 o'clock moving into Parkland County and Drayton Valley areas as well. Around 4:30 to 5 p.m. Into more areas in Parkland County, Stony Plain, Sturgeon County, so that's basically northwest of Edmonton. The city of Edmonton itself and Leduc, so we're tracking a progression here of a few hours. The line kept on moving, and again, right around 6 o'clock last night is the indication that the wind event occurred here. The regional weather station, the Camrose weather station that Environment Canada has access to, recorded a maximum wind right at 6 p.m. and that maximum wind was 50 knots, which equates to about 92 kilometers per hour. And the wind was coming from the west, which is makes sense given the way the storms were moving. So basically a west wind at about 92 kilometers per hour right at 6 p.m., the maximum wind recorded at the weather station. Now the weather station is not located at the camp or at the Big Valley Jamboree, the exhibition grounds here. The winds here, we do not know for sure exactly how strong that wind was, but just hearing some of the witness accounts this morning with the wall of wind, the wall of dust, that sort of a thing, it seems likely that the wind was in the 100 kilometer per hour or somewhat stronger than that. Certainly, I can't say what a maximum estimate would be, but as a minimum, I think the 90 to 100 kilometer per hour range would be a low end on this type of a wind event. The storms did continue through the Camrose area afterwards, eventually moving into parts of southeastern Alberta and even into Saskatchewan later on in the evening towards midnight. That's basically the chronology of what happened. What the actual event was that we can tell based on the meteorological information we have, the weather radar, and listening to the people who are here who saw the storm moving in. Describing it as basically a large wall of dust moving in. Nobody seems to be mentioning tornado, and I don't believe that was the case either, that it was a tornado. I think it was basically what we would call a plow wind or an outflow wind. There's various names for these winds. Essentially, it's the same type of a storm wind that hit the city of Edmonton on the evening of Saturday, July 18th, a straight line wind event. And so a couple of these strong wind events in central Alberta in a 2-week time span here. The straight line wind events generally in Alberta are probably as common or more common than tornadoes and do cause the majority of the wind-related damage in Alberta. And oftentimes they do get above 90 kilometers per hour, which is Environment Canada's criteria for severe weather bulletins. So essentially, when we're talking about the severe weather watch that was issued earlier in the day, one of the criteria is the large hail or the damaging winds, and we define a severe wind as 90 kilometers per hour or greater.
So just
Yep.
What happened at 6:04?
6:04 p.m. was the weather warning for the city of Camrose. And the event happened right around 6 p.m. here. The indications are that the line of storms that was moving towards Camrose, the winds that I've just described, they tend to move out ahead of the storm systems, and sometimes they can move out 10 or even 20 kilometers away. And on the radar, at the time that the warning was being issued, it looked like the line of storms was about 20 kilometers back from the city of Camrose. And in terms of how much lead time is normal on a weather warning for a severe thunderstorm, 20 minutes is probably a very high amount of lead time. you're rarely going to get something that's less than a 20-minute lead time. So at the speed these storms were moving, and with the threat of where the cells were on the radar, the meteorologists decided to put out the warning basically right at around that 6 p.m. mark. Unfortunately, it appears that the wind was ahead of where it was on the radar in terms of the main precipitation area with the storms, and so the wind was coming through this region right about the time that the warning was going out, when in fact we thought we were actually being more proactive, not giving about a 20-minute lead warning. And you can't give more than that because you don't know where the storm is exactly going to go. Is it going to hit the cities and go a little bit to the north, a little bit to the south? So even though we had 3 hours or so of storms moving through the province in the afternoon, moving towards Camrose, you still can't put out that warning more than about 20 minutes in advance so you can see which cell is going to actually hit the city or if it's going to miss the city.